You are live, Mataji, on Facebook.
Mataji, are we broadcasting on Facebook?
Yeah, yes, we are.
Mataji.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. All right, so then I can go here and double check here. And today is Bhakti Vriksha. So we will do fun stuff today, right? And let's see. Am I sharing my screen?
No.
Not yet.
Okay. And I see Ram Krishna Prabhu is there, my dear God brother, watching us on Facebook. Hare Krishna Prabhu Dandat Pranam. So happy that you have joined the call here. And we'll start the call here. And Dilip Bhai Patel Prabhu has also joined us. And we'll start the session today after a short prayer to the spiritual master. Om Ajnanatimarandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Welcome, dear devotees, on Facebook as well as on the Zoom call here. So we have the reading order that I'm sharing with you on the screen. And we're going to start the session today with reading from the Bhagavad Gita Chapter 17. Okay, and we'll go in.
Shruti Mataji just joined.
Shruti, can you read?
Yes, Mataji.
Fantastic. There we go. And by the way, Simi Mataji's mother arrived safe and sound today morning. So thank you for praying for her safe journey. She is here with the family in Canada. All right. So, Shraddha-ji, will you do us a favor?
Yes,
And
thank
read?
you. The Divisions of Faith, Text 1. Arjuna inquired, O Krishna, what is the situation of those who do not follow the principles of Scripture, but worship according to their own imagination? Are they in goodness, in passion, or in ignorance? Text 2. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, according to the modes of nature acquired by the embodied soul, one's faith can be of three kinds, in goodness, in passion, or in ignorance. Now hear about this. Shukama,
Yeah.
Radha.
Text 3. O son of Bharata, according to one's existence under the various modes of nature, one evolves a particular kind of faith. The living being is said to be of a particular faith according to the modes he has acquired. Text 4. Men in the mode of goodness worship the demigods. Those in the mode of passion worship the demons, and those in the mode of ignorance worship ghosts and spirits.
Text 5 and thank you, Mataji. Text 5 and 6. Those who undergo severe austerities and penances not recommended in the scriptures, performing them out of pride and egoism, who are impelled by lust and attachment, who are foolish and who torture the material elements of the body, as well as the supersoul dwelling within, are to be known as demons. Text 7. Even the food each person prefers is of three kinds, according to the three modes of material nature. The same is true of sacrifices, austerities, and charity. Now here are the distinctions between them. Hare Krishna. Varshana Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Foods dear to those in the mode of goodness increase the duration of life, purify one's existence, and give strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Such foods are juicy, fatty, wholesome, and pleasing to the heart. Text 9. Foods that are too bitter, too sour, salty, hot, pungent, dry, and burning are dear to who are, those in the mode of passion. Such foods cause distress, misery, and disease. Hare Krishna. Shruti Priya Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Text 10. Food prepared more than 3 hours before being eaten, food that is tasteless, decomposed and putrid, and food consisting of remnants and untouchable things is dear to those in the mode of darkness. Text 11. of sacrifices, the sacrifice performed according to the directions of the scriptures as a matter of duty by those who desire no reward is of the nature of goodness. Vindhyavali Mataji.
Actually, Priyanka Mataji joined, and Vidyavali
Sorry.
Mataji is not here.
Okay.
Priyanka
So
Mataji,
Priyanka, go
Haribol
ahead, Sadhana.
Mataji, sorry, I won't be able to read Mataji.
Okay.
All right. No
You
worries.
have to pay the fine.
Yes,
Okay,
Mataji.
5 Srimad Bhagavatam.
Text 12. But the sacrifice performed for some material benefit or for the sake of pride, O chief of the Bharatas, you should know to be in the mode of passion. Text 13. Any sacrifice performed without regard for the directions of scripture, without distribution of prasadam, spiritual food, without chanting of Vedic hymns and remunerations of the priests, and without faith is considered to be the mode of ignorance.
Text 14. Austerity of the body consists in worship of the Supreme Lord, the Brahmanas, the spiritual master and superiors like the father and mother, and in cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and non-violence. Text 15. Austerity of speech, it consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literature.
Text 16. And satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purification of one's existence are the austerities of the mind. Text 17. This threefold austerity performed with transcendental faith by men not expecting material benefits but engaged only for the sake of the Supreme is called austerity in goodness. Varshana Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Text 18. Penance performed out of pride for the sake of gaining respect, honor, and worship is said to be in the mode of passion. It is neither stable nor permanent. Text 19. Penance performed out of foolishness with self torture or to destroy or injure others is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Hare Krishna. Shruti Priya Mataji.
Text 20. Charity given out of duty without expectation of return at the proper time and place and to a worthy person is considered to be in the mode of goodness. Text 21. But charity performed with expectation of some return or with a desire of fruitive results or in a grudging mood is said to be charity in the mode of passion. Sadhana Mataji.
Text 22. And charity performed at an impure place, at an improper time, to an unworthy person, or without proper attention and respect, is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Text 23. From the beginning of creation, the three words Om Tat Sat were used to indicate the supreme absolute truth. These three symbolic representations were used by Brahmanas while chanting the hymns of the Vedas and during sacrifices for the satisfaction of the Supreme.
Text 25. Without desiring fruitive results, one should perform various kinds of sacrifice, penance, and charity with the word Tat. The purpose of such transcendental activities is to get free from material entanglement. Text 26 and 27. The absolute truth.
Sorry.
No. The absolute truth is the objective of devotional sacrifice, and it is indicated by the word Sat. The performer of such sacrifice is also called Sat, as are all works of sacrifice, penance, and charity, which, true to the absolute nature, are performed to please the Supreme Person, O son of Pritha.
Text 28. Anything done as sacrifice, charity, or penance without faith in the Supreme, whose Pritha is impermanent. It is called Ashat and is useless both in his life and the next. Hari Bol.
Haribol. All right, Mataji's. Reflection time.
Yeah, so for me, I think it's almost like so hard to get entangled with the three modes, because there's so many rules. It almost feels like the goal of just transcending the three modes is kind of easier at some level. I don't know, it kind of reading all that, and you get so much depth of what each one is and how it takes control, that the work may as well go towards leaving them behind, so to speak, and going past them, right? So,
isn't it sometimes that knowledge is important? It's important to have that knowledge, that
yes.
what the modes are doing to you, and if you follow the dictates where they are going to lead you, so it's better to go for freedom. And that's why the 4 regulative principles that we undergo and we follow, those regulative principles are called principles of freedom. And one might just ask, like, where is the freedom? Where is my freedom? You're asking me, you're telling me, don't eat meat, don't have alcohol, don't gamble, and don't have illicit sex. Where is my freedom? Right? The real freedom comes from that you become free of the shackles that these 4 things are going to put on you. So very, very nice observation, right? And that's a big takeaway from this chapter. Let's see how these modes of material nature they act on you. Purusha prakriti stohi bhunkte prakriti jair gunan karanam guna sangasya sad asad yun janmasu. In chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita, it says Purusha. Purusha is the soul. So soul is also sometimes referred to as Purusha, although there is only one Purusha in this whole creation, both phenomenal and numinous, material and spiritual. There is only one male, and that is Krishna. Because the definition of male is enjoyer, and the definition of female is enjoyed. So all of us are by nature, all the souls are female because they are meant to be enjoyed by Krishna. And so, but sometimes because it has got a little bit more power than dead material substance, that's why sometimes the soul is also addressed as Purusha in our Shastras. It says Purusha Prakriti Stohi Bhukte Prakriti Jayar Gunan. So it says that Purusha, the soul, right? Now, when it comes in contact with the Prakriti, with the material nature, and because it comes in the contact of this material nature, Bhukte Prakriti Jayar Guna, all gunas, Rajogun, Tapogun, and Satogun, it does go, Bhuktas enjoys and suffers that, right? Karanam Guna Sangasya. Why? Because of Sangasya, associating with these modes of material nature and identifying yourself with them. Because of that, Karanam Guna Sangasya, Sat Asad Yoni Janmashu. So because of Yoni is the womb. So because of your association with certain modes of material nature and certain desire, and why do you want to associate? Because you have certain desires. Those will lead to, kind of desires that you have, is determining what mode will be prominent in you. And so because of those desires and that association with material nature, you get born in Sat and Asad, in a good womb or in a bad womb. Like an animal womb is a bad womb, a human womb is a good womb. So because of that, right? So yes, it is this. And so the wise, and that's a very wise conclusion that you made, Sadhana Mataji, that I'm looking at all this mess that it is going to create. Why not just move away and walk out from there? And that's why Vaisheshika Prabhu says, change the topic and change your life. Because right now, 99.99% people are talking, 99.9999999% people are talking about material things.
Prajalpa.
Rajalpa, exactly. Mundane things. Completely mundane things. Right?
So,
and then
Mataji.
yeah?
Yeah. So, no, Mataji, if you are done, then only I'll tell.
All right, thank you. So I was just going to add one more. Point, and which I forgot. It came to my mind. It just yes, yes. What I was saying was that I had mentioned a few days ago, and which was that. So you saw the problem there, Sadhana Mataji. Of course, everybody else also saw that. So you saw the problem over there, and then now the question that comes is that I need to find a solution to this problem. Because I know if I eat this, I will have acid in my stomach. If I do this, all that. So how do I find a solution to that? And like I was quoting Einstein, right, who said that to solve a problem, you require a consciousness which is at a higher level than the consciousness that created that problem. So, so you have to, the solution will come at a higher level. The higher than material is the spiritual. So you will get from there. The solutions have to come from there. So The only solution is to move to a spiritual level, spiritual layer. Yeah. And that's the essence, it's the essence of everything. Go spiritual, go Brahman. Brahma. When we read the Bhagavad Gita, the colophons for Bhagavad Gita, and then, right? Om Tat Sat Iti Shrimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam. Brahma Vidyayam. So what kind of a Vidya it is? Brahma. So it's transcendental knowledge, right? And so when you read Bhagavad Gita, you'll get transcendental knowledge. And so that's how you will get, you'll get and find the solutions to life. And that's why they say Bhagavad Gita is the manual for life, because it's giving you the right solutions and
Okay,
not any chota mota.
so I'm shipping a big box of Bhagavad Gitas to Donald Trump then. We might have some hope then, huh?
Yes. It really deserves mercy. Yeah. Actually, it's a very interesting thing that our shastras tell us that a king, if a king is not very, if the king is not spiritual and is not associated with the god. Now, I don't know whether Donald Trump was that one or not, because I've not been intimate there to know all the intimate details of that, and nor was I interested. But the thing is that the Shastras say that if a king is good, then the people below him are good, right? Their lives is also good because the king is going to guide them on how to go back to God. And that's what the king's will is. That's why when they say that the king is a representative of God over here, what is he supposed to do? He's supposed to guide everybody to go back to Godhead. And so it's his job to make sure that happens. But when the king is bad, so when the king is good, the janta will get the good things of the good karma of the king will be shared by the citizens. But when the king is bad, you know what happens? 1/6 of the bad karma of the citizens, the king has to take that. So it's not an easy thing. When people might just say that, no, well, I'll rule this, I'll become a prime minister, I'll become a president. These are very, very precarious positions from the Shastric perspective. Because if you are not a good king, if you are not into spiritual, if you are not a spiritual person, taking on these kind of responsibilities is a very, very, dangerous thing. Because you will end up taking the karma. You're not spiritual, so how you, in any case, you're not going to guide your citizens into spiritualism. They're going to commit, sinful activities, and you get 1/6 of the share.
Good for him.
So, yeah, and then so the moment the results are declared for the election, the president should actually say that, now to the next one. Now you take over. You get your 1/6. Because it's Kali Yuga, everybody's sinning, right? So there's that. If you look at it from the Shastric perspective, why wait for 19th of January and whatever, just leave and go. We have instances in the Shastras when kings were just fed up. Anga was just fed up with his son, and fed up with how bad his son was, and he just left and went away to the forest, because the more I stay over here, it's going to just mess up with everything that he has to do, like that. So yeah, people need transcendental solutions. Transcendental solutions, yeah.
So, Mataji, I like that austerity of speech, austerity of mind, and austerity of body. And I feel that is three things are interconnected. Because if you control the speech, the mind will be controlled, and when the mind will be controlled, then the body will remain calm, cool, and so that is my thought. Means because every time I'm telling the people who are surrounded, who I am surrounded, that austerity of speech, and at some point I feel that people will stop talking to me because I don't know, when they will talk. So there are, like we were discussing that Prajalpa, there are so many talks that we don't want to hear nowadays. So it agitates our mind. So that means there is no austerity of mind. And then after that, it will agitate your body too. And you will lose the concentration.
Yeah, there's a very nice verse in Bhagavad Gita which actually tells you the hierarchy of the the mind, the senses, where it says the lowest is the mind, right?
Yes.
And above the lowest is the dull matter, right? I'm just reading that up here. Just give me a second. Am I sharing with you? Not yet, right? Okay, let me just share with you all. And sharing screen number 2. Please confirm that you can see that. Whose turn is it to read now?
Mine,
And we have,
Mataji. One more verse.
okay, and then Barsha Mataji has joined us also. Barsha, are you? I'm so happy to see you. Are you able to read? Do you remember? Some of you remember Barsha? She used to come many, many months ago. She used to
Yeah,
join.
I know. I remember.
You remember her? Yeah. Barsha, can you read? I don't know. She usually works in, I don't know.
Yes, yes, Mataji, I can read.
You can read? Oh, fantastic.
Excellent.
Okay. Barsha.
I
So
can
after
also read, Mataji.
now Garima can also read. Wow. Okay. So we have Barsha Mataji and then we Garima Mataji is already here. So I'll bring both of you in. And whose turn is it to read, by the way?
Sitapa.
Sutapa, yours? Do you remember?
Yep.
Yes, Mataji, I read one song.
Whoever has to read, please go ahead.
May I go, Mataji?
Yes, yes, I'm waiting
Okay.
for you.
Indriyani parani ahor, indriye vayo param manaha, manashastu parabuddhi, yo buddhe paratashtu shaha.
Paratastu saha, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And let's look at the words here.
Varshana Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Indriyani senses, prani superior,
Prani? Is it prani? Is it prani?
prani,
No.
P-A-R-A-N-E,
What is P-A-R? What?
parani,
Parani. Yes.
parani.
Okay.
Superior, aho are said, indriya bhai, more than the senses, param, superior, manah, the mind, manasaha, more than the mind, tu, also, para, superior, buddhi, intelligence, ya, who, buddhi, more than the intelligence, partah, paratah, superior, tu, but, sah, he. Hare Krishna. Shruti Priya Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Translation. The working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind. And he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. Barsha Mataji.
Senses are different outlets for the activities of lust. Lust is reserved within the body, but it is given vent through the senses. Therefore, the senses are superior to the body as a whole. These outlets are not in use when there is super consciousness or Krishna consciousness. In Krishna consciousness, the soul makes direct connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the hierarchy of body functions, as described here, ultimately ends in the Supreme Soul. Bodily action means the functions of the senses, and stopping the senses means stopping all bodily actions. But since the mind is active, then even though the body may be silent and at rest, the mind will act, as it does during dreaming. But above the mind is the determination of the intelligence, and above the intelligence is the soul proper. If, therefore, the soul is directly engaged with the Supreme, naturally all other subordinates, namely the intelligence, mind, and senses, will be automatically engaged. In the Katha Upanishad, There's a similar passage in which it is said that the objects of sense gratification are superior to the senses, and mind is superior to the sense objects. If, therefore, the mind is directly engaged in the service of the Lord constantly, then there's no chance that the senses will become engaged in other ways. This mental attitude has already been explained. Param drishtva nivartate. If the mind is engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord, there's no chance of its being engaged in the lower propensities. In the Katha Upanishad, the soul has been described as Mahan, the great. Therefore, the soul is above all, namely the sense objects, the senses, the mind, and the intelligence. Therefore, directly understanding the constitutional position of the soul is a solution of the whole problem. Should I continue?
If you want to give somebody a chance to read, you can give. If you want to read, since you have come after a long time, I think nobody will mind you reading. It's your choice.
Okay, I can read. With intelligence, one has to seek out the constitutional position of the soul and then engage the mind always in Krishna consciousness. That solves the whole problem. A neophyte spiritualist is generally advised to keep aloof from the objects of the senses, but aside from that, one has to strengthen the mind by use of intelligence. If by intelligence one engages one's mind in Krishna consciousness, by complete surrender onto the Supreme Presiding Godhead, then, Mataji, I think you have to scroll. Okay. Then automatically the mind becomes stronger, and even though the senses are very strong, like serpents, they'll no more be effective than serpents with broken fangs. But even though the soul is the master of intelligence and mind, and the senses also, still, unless it is strengthened by the association with Krishna in Krishna consciousness, there's every chance of falling down due to the agitated mind. Hare Krishna.
There you go. So you see you can see the hierarchy. So lowest is what?
The dull sense.
Dull matter.
The dull matter. Okay. And above the matter are?
Senses.
Senses.
Senses,
Right. And above the senses?
Mind.
mind,
Mind. And above the mind?
Intelligence.
intelligence,
Intelligence.
Above the intelligence?
Soul.
soul,
Soul.
And above the soul?
Super
Super
soul.
soul.
Okay. Now, we have been talking about lust, anger, and greed as the three gates to hell, right? For the past few days, we've been talking about that. And then this started with lust, right? The purport started with lust.
yes.
Look at this. What does it say?
It is reserved within the body.
Lust is reserved within the body, but it is given vent through the senses.
So where in the body is lust residing? See, lust is because of the lust which is there in the body, the senses are reaching out, right?
So
For
mind.
example,
Mind.
yes, mana shashtani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. Right, so it is there in the mind and in the form of samskaras, right? And but what is the root cause of those thoughts there in the mind? Lusty thoughts being in the mind. Who's causing those lusty thoughts?
Desires,
Who is
The
desiring?
soul.
Maya.
soul.
Soul. Exactly, the soul. Right? Yeah. And Sadhamati ji had a hand raised.
Oh, actually, it was. I'm going to ask about this line anyway.
Oh,
Yeah, and also one other thing this purport says is that the sense objects are higher than the senses themselves.
oh,
right?
does it say that?
I thought that what it said.
Yeah, it says that.
Okay, let's see. In which it is said, okay, in this Katha, there is it said that the objects of sense gratification are superior to
Superior to
the
the senses, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that seems a little contradictory to what we understand, right?
Well, the objects are inanimate Oh, well, it could be other people.
That's what I was saying. Yeah. When I said the lowest is the, yeah.
Dull
Yeah.
matter. That's what I was wondering, because if an object, I guess, is this talking about objects which are not dull matter though?
But still it is, then what is that? What is the object? I mean, for us, the object of the senses would be the object of our eye would be the sense of sight is a form, right?
Yes.
So here it's saying that that form is superior to the senses, right?
Right.
That doesn't seem to
Well,
gel with.
well, so like, I think some objects, like, I mean, would one can think of the people who go into like any kind of bhakti practice or any yoga or any transcendental are looking for something, right? So there's an object. It's not a dull object. It's not a dull matter. It's a higher level of object, right? But it's still something they're going after, because there's still a want. In the end, there is still a desire or need of something. When we're looking, even when we're looking for something better than what we have today, we're still looking. So I was just wondering if it was that, that sort of higher level.
It would, yeah, at least it would satisfy this part of the statement. Like for example, but here it is talking about sense gratification. And so that is where the catch is, because that should not be sense gratification. Atmendriya priti. This is like trying to gratify our senses, and bhakti is about gratifying other person's senses. And even if you think that, okay, it is my sense and my desire to get Krishna, but then this part of the statement is then not satisfied, because the mind will become and the Krishna, right? So there's something wrong. Yeah, I'll have to get back on to you on this one and see what others say about that, because it doesn't seem to gel with and be in alignment with what the main verse is saying, right? The working senses are superior to the dull matter, which to me would be an object of a sense is matter only, right? That's what the senses go and gather and get.
In
Unless
the Katha Upanishad is referring to, is that the story of the 9 gates where the soul leaves and goes into the city and then is that the story? Do you know? I don't.
No, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I haven't read the Katha Upanishads. I don't know. But there is a story, similar story. It is in Bhagavatam, which is for Puranjana.
Okay.
Yeah, the Puranjana story, and there he talks about a city with gates, and there's a snake who is the support like that. So it's a pretty complicated story over there. Yeah, but that's Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's, yeah. So let me research on, get back to you on this one.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, but good catch, good point. Yeah, this is called scrutinizing reading. Yeah. Something which I really liked here was this line. If the mind is therefore directly engaged in the service of the Lord constantly, then there is no chance the senses will be engaged in any other ways. Because why does the sentence say that?
Mind is the enemy. If mind is controlled, everything is controlled.
Yeah, not the mind is the enemy, but the mind is the controller of the senses. The mind, see, remember this particular chapter verse is talking about the hierarchy, right? So the senses are at the level below the mind. So the mind itself is connected with Krishna. How can the lower things be connected with anything else? The lower have to follow the mind. If the mind is connected to Krishna, the hands have to be engaged in Krishna, like that, right? But the problem with us is that our mind doesn't like to stay. Mayeva man adasta mai buddhim niveshaya niveshishya mayeva atha urdham nasansaya. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita Chapter 12 that you put your mind, engage your mind in me. How much? 24/7. And that's our problem. We can engage the mind on Krishna for like 30 seconds maximum, at least for myself. And then it'll go here, and then you have to pull it back and go here, like pull it back, right? So, but when the mind is good, it's very, very good. If it's engaged in in the thoughts of the Lord or in the service of the Lord, then other things like your jnana indriyas and knowledge acquiring senses and your working senses have to obey the order of the mind, right? And vice versa also. Other case also, when the mind is not going to follow Krishna, then because the mind controls the senses, then the senses will also do things which are not in Krishna consciousness, like that. So that is the hierarchy. So Sutapa Mataji, the austerity of speech. The austerity of speech and the austerity of the body will be governed by the mind. So the mind has to decide that, I want to keep a fast on Ekadashi. The mind has to decide that I will speak only the truth. I will only speak Vedic literature. I will not do prajalpa, right? So things that you pointed out earlier. So, so the mind is to do that. So that's the austerity of the mind. And it's very interesting when he talks about austerity of the mind, the austerity, he will list other things like, speaking the truth, being sweet and pleasant. But he also says speech. Austerity of the tongue is also involved. It also includes reciting the Vedic literature. Reciting the Vedic literature is also an austerity, and in the beginning, it is an austerity. And so when we are in the beginning, when we are starting to do devotional service, there are obstacles in our devotional service, and these obstacles are big time, big time. Like you sit down with all the concentration, and you really want to just focus on the Lord, but it doesn't happen. No matter how hard you try, no matter how hard you try, it will still take you to this place, that place. Mano rathena siti dhavato bhahi. So the mind takes the soul and puts the soul on a chariot. Mano rath. Rath means a chariot, right? And and so it'll take you to all over planetary system. You'll go anywhere and everywhere, right? So these are obstacles we get, like you sleep. Immediately you open the Bhagavad Gita and the sleep comes. Right? You sit down to chant and the sleep comes, and you put away the book and you put away the chanting beads. You're hale and hearty. So in the beginning, these kind of things happen, and so this is an obstacle to devotional service, that you want to sleep. I'm feeling sleepy. I'm sleeping, right? And then what happens is there's another obstacle that we have. Okay, I don't feel sleepy. I'm very nice. I'm fresh. I sit down and to read my book, or I sit down to do my chanting. Then there are other obstacles that come, and that is that while you are chanting, you will remember material topics. Like you sit down to chant, but suddenly, oh, I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to pay the fees. I did not pay the bill. I did not do all these material things are also going to come to you. Right? So that's another obstacle that comes there. Right? Sometimes it is like, okay, then it doesn't happen. I am not sleepy. I'm not also thinking about other objects. Right? And the third obstacle that comes to my mind is that despite this, there is no such thing that mind is thinking of this, but still on Krishna's thoughts, I'm not able to focus. I'm not able to do that. My hearing is not proper. My reading is not proper. My chanting is not proper. That is again, that is going. And again, while we are chanting and when we are praying to the Lord, we have to be very careful. We have to be very careful about certain things. And that is that, anger, feeling of envy, feeling of jealousy, those kind of lower feelings which are there, they should not arise while we are hearing and while we are chanting. So you see, I'm sitting down here, I'm fresh, I'm not sleepy, I'm not thinking of when I'll make my $1 million, I'm not thinking of any of that, right? But I am thinking of why is that person like that? And I don't know why, everybody says that person is so good. I don't think they're so good like that, So sometimes anger is there, greed is there, envy is there. So you should not be doing that, right? So, and then of course, to be involved in material activities. Sometimes people get very deeply involved in material activities, that they sit down to chant. After 2 hours, they have no idea where they were, with the chanting and with that, right? So we have to, and when these obstacles that I just mentioned, right, that you are not feeling sleepy, you're not being carried away by material desires, you're able to chant properly, you don't have any anger over there, you're not deeply engrossed in material activities. When you get over, and they get over by the process of chanting, and the cure for bad chanting is more chanting. So don't feel bad if this is happening. Continue chanting. Don't stop. So the cure for bad chanting is chanting, and all these obstacles to devotional service will go away. And when you reach that stage, when you reach that stage where all these are gone, that is when you get stability in your devotional service. As long as any one of these are there, there won't be any stability, right? Because one day you'll get up in the morning to chant, and then you'll feel sleepy, you'll go to sleep, right? Second day you'll sit down to chant, but the material objects are taking you here and there, like that. So drop whatever you're doing, go start paying bill, make that phone call that you want to make, you'll do everything, and before you know, 3 hours have gone and you have still not started your chanting. So to have stability, all these things have to go away. And in the 9 stages that we talk about devotional service, this is a very high stage called nishtha. The nishtha is that there is stability there, and I'm doing it again and again every day without any side distractions that are coming to me. So it'll happen. It'll in the beginning. These kinds of things are going to happen to you, but as you progress in devotional service with determination, the association of devotees, all these things are going to go away, and austerity is there. Austerity of speech. One of the austerities of speech is to recite the Vedic literature, and you will be able to recite it. And actually, because after this nishtha, after the stage of nishtha, the next stage in devotional service is called ruchi. That you've got a taste. Now, when you have got a taste for something, then there is no sleep, no sleepiness, no tiredness, no thoughts going here and there, because you like what you're doing. You'll have full focus attention there. Few days ago, I was talking about, somebody was saying that when I'm chanting, I don't have, I think it was Shruti of Khyati, as one of the two words, one of them was saying that when I'm chanting, then mind is disturbed, but when I'm doing my regular office work, my mind is completely focused. Why is it like that, right? Because ruchi, the taste is there more in that. So we have to develop a higher taste. That's why in this verse they were saying, right? Vishaya vinivartante nirharasadehina rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva. They use the word param drishtva. Param is higher. So when you get a higher taste, then the lower taste will go away. It's all about ruchi. Ruchi is taste. So when you develop a taste for devotional service, then things will follow automatically. It comes after a long time. It's all these anarthas that we have in us cause all these obstacles in our devotional service. And that stage, or the clearing stage, is a very long stage. Very long stage. It's called anartha nivritti. It can take 10 years, 20 years, 20 lifetimes, 30 lifetimes. It can take anything, to clear whatever. Depends on how much we have accumulated. So we have to get rid of all that, yeah. But good point, austerity of speech. And actually, nectar of instruction starts with Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jivha Vegam, Dharapasta Vegam, Etan Vegan Yo Vishaheta Dhira, Sarvam Apima Vim Sachishyat. That one who has conquered, and actually, that's such a nice verse that we should look at that, and we should constantly be revisiting these verses. This is nectar of instruction, Updesha Mita, verse number 1. And whose turn is it to read now? Is it Garima Mataji's turn?
Yes, Mataji.
Can you give this verse?
I cannot see. I'm seeing it's. Yeah,
Can you?
now I can see. Vachu vegam manasa krodha vegam jiva vegam udaro pashta vegam etan vegan yo vishahita dhirah sarvam apimam prithivim sa shishyat.
Very nice. Okay, who's going to give us the synonyms?
Vindhyavali after me.
Sadhana
Vindhyavali Mataji.
Mataji.
Sadhana Mataji.
I think Chitra Mataji joined.
She cannot read
Oh,
today.
sorry.
Cannot read today? Okay. And Khyati also joined. Khyati,
Oh.
are you in a position to read? Or because Neera Prabhu was saying, right? She will join after some time. Maybe she's going
I can. So should I read the
word by word?
synonyms? Yeah.
Yes, you can read this word by word.
Vacha of speech, Vegam urge, Manasaha of the mind, Krodha of anger, Vegam urge, Jivha of the tongue, Vegam urge, Udar Upastha of the belly and genital, Vegam urge, Etan these, Vegan urges, Yaha whoever, Visheshta can tolerate, Dhira
Vishaheta.
Vishay Heta can tolerate. Dhira, sober. Sarvam, all. Api, certainly. Imam, this. Prithvim, world. Sah, that personality. Sisyat, can make disciple. Shishyat, can make
Shya.
disciple.
And make this up.
Shishyat.
Okay. Shishya. Okay. Right. Who's next?
So next is
Okay. Satma Mataji? Unmute.
Yeah, sorry. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and the genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world.
So
Shubkamal?
what are the urges you're talking about?
Speak.
Urges of tongue, belly, genitals.
And
Anger. Anger.
Mind. Mind.
right. Okay. Let's continue further.
Okay. In Srimad Bhagavatam 6.1-910, Parikshit Maharaj placed a number of intelligent questions before Sukdev Goswami. One of these questions was, why do people undergo atonement if they cannot control their senses? For instance, a thief may know perfectly well that he may be arrested for his stealing, and he may actually even see a thief arrested by the police, yet he continues to steal. Experience is gathered by hearing and seeing. One who is less intelligent gathers experience by seeing, and one who is more intelligent gathers experience by hearing. When an intelligent person hears from the law books and shastras or scriptures that stealing is not good and hears that a thief is punished when arrested, he refrains from theft. A less intelligent person may first have to be arrested and punished for stealing to learn to stop stealing. However, a rascal, a foolish man, may have the experience of both hearing and seeing and may even be punished, but still he continues to steal. Even if such a person atones and is punished by the government, he will again commit theft as soon as he comes out of jail. If punishment in jail is considered atonement, what is the benefit of such atonement? Thus Parikshit Maharaj inquired.
Drishta shruta vayam yat papam jnanam api atmanohitam karoti vo ya vivarshaha prayaschitam atho katham. Varshana Mataji, you can read.
Yes, Mataji. Kavchin bhadrat kavachit charati tat punah प्रायश्चितम् अथो पार्थम् मन्ये कुञ्जर शोचवत्. Hare Krishna.
Shachvat.
Shauchvat. Thank
is taking a bath. Yeah.
you. Shauchvat. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Who's next?
Shruti Priya Mataji.
Shrutimpiya is not there, Mataji. Barsha Mataji, your turn, Barsha.
He compared atonement to an elephant bathing. The elephant may take a very nice bath in the river, but as soon as it comes onto the bank, it throws dirt all over its body. What then is the value of its bathing? Similarly, many spiritual practitioners chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and at the same time commit many forbidden things, thinking that the chanting will counteract their offenses. Of the 10 types of offenses one can commit while chanting the holy name of the Lord, this offense is called Namno Baladyasa hi Papa Buddhi. committing sinful activities on the strength of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Similarly, certain Christians go to church to confess the sins, thinking that confessing the sins before a priest and performing some penance will relieve them from the results of their weekly sins. As soon as Saturday is over and Sunday comes, they again begin the sinful activities, expecting to be forgiven the next Saturday. This kind of prayashchita or atonement is condemned by Parikshit Maharaj, the most intelligent king of his time. Sukadeva Goswami equally intelligent, as befitting the spiritual master of Maharaj Parikshit, answered the king and confirmed that his statement concerning atonement was correct. A sinful activity cannot be counteracted by a pious activity. Thus, real prayashchita, atonement, is the awakening of our dormant Krishna consciousness. Does Garima Mataji read now, or?
Yeah, I can read. If you want,
Okay.
you can continue.
It's okay, Mataji, you can read now.
Real atonement involves coming to real knowledge, and for this, there is a standard process. When one follows a regulated hygienic process, he does not fall sick. A human being is meant to be trained according to the certain principles to revive his original knowledge. Such a methodological life is described as tapasya. One can be gradually elevated to the standard of real knowledge or Krishna consciousness by practicing austerity and celibacy, by controlling the mind, by controlling the sense, by giving up one's possession in charity, by being avowedly truthful, by keeping clean, and by practicing yoga asanas. However, if one is fortunate enough to get the association of a pure devotee, he can easily surpass all the practices for controlling the mind by the mystic yoga process simply by following the regulative principles of Krishna consciousness, refraining from illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling, and by engaging in the service of Supreme Lord under the direction of bona fide spiritual master. The easy process is being recommended by Srila Rup Goswami. Khyati Mataji?
Thank you, Garima Mataji. Hare Krishna. First, one must control his speaking power. Every one of us has the power of speech. As soon as we get an opportunity, we begin to speak. If we do not speak about Krishna consciousness, we speak about all sort of nonsense. A toad in a field speaks by croaking, and similarly, everyone who has tongue wants to speak, even if all he has to say is nonsense. The croaking of the toad, however, simply invites the snake. Please come here and eat me. Nevertheless, although it is inviting death, the toad goes on croaking. The talking of materialistic men and impersonalist Mayavadi philosophers may be compared to the croaking of frogs. They are always speaking nonsense and thus inviting death to catch them. Controlling speech, however, does not mean self imposed silence, the external process of mona. As Mayavadi philosopher thinks, silence may appear helpful for some time, but ultimately it proves a failure. The meaning of controlled speech conveyed by Srila Rupa Goswami advocates the positive process of Krishna Katha, engaging the speaking process in glorifying the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. The tongue can thus glorify the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord. The preacher of Krishna Katha is always beyond the clutches of death. This is the significance of controlling the urge to speak. Hare Krishna. So, Komal Radhe Mataji.
Yeah, thank you. The restlessness or fickleness of the mind, manovega, is controlled when one can fix his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. The Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 22:31 says, Krishna Surya Sama, Maya Haya Andhakar, Yaha Krishna Taha Nahi Maya Ra Adhikar. Sutapa Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Krishna is just like the sun, and Maya is just like darkness. If the sun is present, there is no question of darkness. Similarly, if Krishna is present in the mind, there is no possibility of the minds being agitated by Maya's influence. The yogic process of negating the all material thoughts will not help. To try to create a vacuum in the mind is artificial. The vacuum will not remain. However, if one always thinks of Krishna and how to serve Krishna best, one's mind will naturally be controlled. Hare Krishna. Vashana Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Similarly, anger can be controlled. We cannot stop anger altogether. But if we simply become angry with those who blaspheme the Lord or the devotee of the Lord, we control our anger in Krishna consciousness. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became angry with the miscreant brothers Jagai and Madai, who blasphemed and who struck Nityanand Prabhu. In his Shikshashtakam, Shikshashtaka, Lord Chaitanya wrote, Tranad api sunichena taror api suhushnuna. One should be humbler than the grass and more tolerant than the tree. One may then ask why the Lord exhibited his anger. The point is that one should be ready to tolerate all insults to one's own self. But when Krishna or his pure devotee is blasphemed, our genuine devotee becomes angry and acts like fire against the offenders. Krodha, anger, cannot be stopped, but it can be applied rightly. It was in anger that Hanuman set fire to Lanka, but he is worshipped as the greatest devotee of Lord Ramchandra. This means that he utilized his anger in the right way. Arjuna serves as another example. He was not willing to fight, but Krishna incited his anger. You must fight. To fight without anger is not possible. Anger is controlled, however, when utilized in the service of the Lord. Hare Krishna Mataji. Suruchi Mataji. Shruti Priya Mataji.
Varsha Mataji. Shruti Mataji is not here.
Okay, Mataji. As for the urges of the tongue, we all experience that the tongue wants to eat palatable dishes. Generally, we should not allow the tongue to eat according to its choice, but should control the tongue by supplying prasad. The devotee's attitude is that he will eat only when Krishna gives him prasad. That is the way to control the urge of the tongue. One should take prasada at scheduled times and should not eat in restaurants or sweet meat shops simply to satisfy the whims of the tongue or belly. If you stick to the principle of taking only prasada, the urges of the belly and tongue can be controlled. Garima Mataji.
In a simple manner, the urges of genitals, the sex impulse, can be controlled when not used unnecessarily. The genitals should be used to beget a Krishna conscious child, otherwise, they should not be used. The Krishna conscious movement encourages marriage not for the satisfaction of the genitals but for the begetting of Krishna conscious children. As soon as the children are little grown up, they are sent to our Gurukul Skula, where they are trained to become fully Krishna conscious devotees. Many such Krishna conscious children are required, and one who is capable of bringing forth Krishna consciousness of offspring is allowed to utilize his genitals. Hare Krishna. Kyati Mataji?
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Garima Mataji. When one is fully practiced in the methods of Krishna conscious control, he can become qualified to be a bona fide spiritual master. Hare Krishna, Sukomal Radhe Mataji.
Thank you. In his Anuvritti explanation of Upadeshamrita, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes that our material Identification creates three kinds of urges: the urge to speak, the urge or demands of the mind, and the demands of the body. When a living entity falls victim to these three types of urges, his life becomes inauspicious. One who practices resisting these demands or urges is called tapasvi, or one who practices austerities. By such tapasya, one can overcome victimization by the material energy, the external potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
When we refer to the urge to speak, we refer to useless talking, such as that of the impersonal Mayavadi philosophers or of persons engaged in fruitive activities, technically called karma kanda, or of materialistic people who simply want to enjoy life without restriction. All such talks or literatures are practical exhibitions of the urge to speak. Many people are talking nonsensically and writing volumes of useless books, and all this is the result of the urge to speak. To counteract this tendency, we have to divert our talking to the subject of Krishna. This is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.10.11. Varsha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. नायद नायद वचश चित्रपटम हरेर यशो यशो. Mataji, can you give me the meter?
Nayadvachachitrapadam harir
Nayad vachaschitrapadam harir yasho jagat pavitram pragrinita pragnita karhichit tad tadvayasam tiratam ushanti manasa nayatra hamsa nirmantye ushik kashyaha ksyaha
Ushik, right?
ushikshaha
See the meaning.
ushikshaha.
Nice. Let's see.
Those words which do not describe the glories of the Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe, are considered by saintly persons to be like unto a place of pilgrimage for crows. Since the all perfect persons are inhabitants of the transcendental abode, they do not derive any pleasure there.
Now look at the contrast verse.
तत्
Tadvati sargo
जनता
janata
विप्लवो यस्मिन् प्रतिश्लोकम् अवधावति अपि नामानि अनन्तस्य यशो निक्तानि यत् शृण्वन्ति गायन्ति गृह्णन्ति साधवा. On the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, form, pastimes, etc., of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a different creation, full of transcendental words directed towards bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. Kyati Mataji?
Thank you, Mataji. The conclusion is that only when we talk about devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead can we refrain from useless, nonsensical talk. We should always endeavor to use our speaking power. Mataji, can you scroll up
Sorry,
more?
yeah. The bookmark.
Power solely for the purpose of realizing Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. So, Komal Radha Mataji.
As for the agitations of the flickering mind, they are divided into two divisions. The first is called avirodha priti, or unrestricted attachment, and the other is called virodha yukta krodha, anger arising from frustration. Adherence to the philosophy of the Mayavadis, belief in the fruitive results of the Karmavadis, and belief in plans based on materialistic desires are called avirodha priti. Jnanis, karmis, and materialistic plan makers generally attract the attention of conditioned souls, but when the materialists cannot fulfill their plans and when their devices are frustrated, they become angry. Frustration of material desires produces anger.
Similarly, the demands of the body can be divided into three categories: the demands of the tongue, the belly, and the genitals. One may observe that these three senses are physically situated in a straight line as far as the body is concerned, and that the bodily demands begin with the tongue. If one can restrain the demands of the tongue by limiting its activity to the eating of prasad, the urges of the belly and the genitals can automatically be controlled. In this connection, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Shurira aviddo jala janendriya ja- jadendriya tatha kala জিবা ফেলে বিশ্ব স্বর্গ তারে মধ্যে জিবা আতি লোভ মায়া সুদূর মতি তাকে জেতা কঠিন সংসারে কৃষ্ণ বাদা দায়া মায়া কারি বেরা জীবা জায়া স্বপ্রসাদা অন্ন দিলা ভাই সেই অনামৃত্যু খাও রাধা কৃষ্ণ গুণ গাও প্রেমে ডাকে চৈতন্য নিতাই হরে কৃষ্ণ ভাষণা মাতাজি
Yes, Hare Krishna Mataji. O Lord, this material body is a lump of ignorance, and senses are a network of paths leading to death. Somehow or other, we have fallen into the ocean of material sense enjoyment, and of all the senses, the tongue is the most voracious and uncontrollable. It is very difficult to conquer the tongue in this world. But you, dear Krishna, are very kind to us. You have sent this nice prasad to help us conquer the tongue. Therefore, let us take this prasad to our full satisfaction and glorify your lordships, Sri Sri Radha and Krishna, and in love call for the help of Lord Chaitanya and Prabhu Nityananda. Hare Krishna. Varsha Mataji.
There are 6 kinds of rasas, tastes, and if one is agitated by any one of them, he becomes controlled by the urges of the tongue. Some persons are attracted to the eating of meat, fish, crabs, eggs, and other things produced by semen and blood, and eaten in the form of dead bodies. Others attracted by eating vegetables, creepers, spinach, or milk products, but all for the satisfaction of the tongue's demands. Such eating for sense gratification, including the use of extra quantities of spices like chili and tamarind, and is to be given up by Krishna conscious persons. The use of
Yeah,
pan,
just
harita.
just hold on, Bacha. Let me just refresh the page so that that bookmark go away. Okay.
Sure, Mataji.
Krishna conscious person. Sorry.
Okay. The use of pan, haritaki, betel nuts, various spices used in pan making, tobacco, LSD, marijuana, opium, liquor, coffee, and tea is indulged in to fulfill illicit demands. If we can practice accepting only remnants of food offered to Krishna, it is possible to get free from Maya's victimization. Vegetables, grains, fruits, milk products, and water are proper foods to offer to the Lord, as Lord Krishna himself prescribes. However, if one accepts prasad only because of its palatable taste and thus eats too much, he also falls prey to trying to satisfy the demands of the tongue. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us to avoid very palatable dishes even while eating prasad. If we offer palatable dishes to the deity with the intention of eating such nice food, we're involved in trying to satisfy the demands of the tongue. If we accept the invitation of a rich man with the idea of receiving palatable food, we're also trying to satisfy the demands of the tongue. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya 6227, it is stated, Jivara lala se yeti iti utti dhoye, Shishnudara parayana Krishna nahi paye. That person who runs here and there, seeking to gratify his palate and who is always attached to the desires of his stomach and genitals is unable to attain Krishna. Thank you.
As stated before, the tongue, belly, and genitals are all situated in straight line and they fall in the same category. Lord Krishna has said, Bhala, bhala na kaibe, aura bhala na paribe. Do not dress luxuriously and do not eat delicious food stuff. Hare Krishna. Khyati Mataji?
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Those who suffer from disease of the stomach must be unable to control the urges of the belly, at least according to this analysis. When we desire to eat more than necessary, we automatically create many inconveniences in life. However, if we observe fasting days like Ekadashi and Janmashtami, we can restrain the demands of the belly. Hare Krishna. Sukomal Radha Mataji.
Thank
Actually,
you.
Chitra Mataji joined.
As far as the urges of the genitals are concerned, there are two: proper and improper, or legal and illicit sex. When a man is properly mature, he can marry according to the rules and regulations of the Shastras and use his genitals for begetting nice children. That is legal and religious. Otherwise, he may adopt many artificial means to satisfy the demands of the genitals, and he may not use any restraint. When one indulges in illicit sex life as defined by the Shastras, either by thinking, planning, talking about, or actually having sexual intercourse, or by satisfying the genitals by artificial means, he is caught in the clutches of Maya. These instructions apply not only to householders but also to Tyagis, or those who are in the renounced order of life. In his book Prem Vivarta, Chapter 7, Sri Jagadananda Pandit says, Sutapa?
বৈরাগী ভাই গ্রাম্য কথা না শুনিবে কানে গ্রাম্য বার্তা না কহিবে ইবে মিলিবে আনে স্বপনে না করো ভাই স্ত্রী সম্ভাষণা গৃহে স্ত্রী ছাড়িয়া ভাই আসিয়াছ বনে ইয়েদি কাহে প্রাণায়ে রাখিতে গৌরাঙ্গ যারা শনে ছোট হরিদাসেরই কথা থাকে ইয়ে মনে ভালো না খাইবে আর ভালো না পড়িবে হৃদয়েতে রাধা কৃষ্ণ সর্বদা সেবিবে Varshana Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. My dear brother, you are in the renounced order of life and should not listen to talk about ordinary worldly things, nor should you talk about worldly things when you meet with others. Do not think of women, even in dreams. You have accepted the renounced order of life with the vow that forbids you to associate with women. If you wish to associate with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you must always remember the incident of Chota Haridas and how he was rejected by the Lord. Do not eat luxurious dishes or dress in fine garments, but always remain humble and serve their Lordship, Shri Shri Radha Krishna, in your heart of hearts. Hare Krishna. Varsha Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. The conclusion is that one who can control these 6 items, speech, mind, anger, tongue, belly, and genitals, is to be called a Swami or Goswami. Swami means master, and Goswami means master of the go or senses. When one accepts the renounced order of life, he automatically assumes the title of Swami. This does not mean that he is the master of his family, community, or society. He must be master of his senses. Unless one is master of his senses, he should not be called Goswami, but Godasa, servant of the senses. Following in the footsteps of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, all Swamis and Goswamis should fully engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. As opposed to this, the Godasas engage in the service of the senses or in the service of the material world. They have no other engagement. Prahlad Maharaj has further described the Godasa and Adanta Go, which refers to one whose senses are not controlled. An Adanta Go cannot become a servant of Krishna. In Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.30, Prahlad Maharaj has said, Matirna Krishna Parata Satova Mitho Vipadhyeta Griha Vratanam Adanta Govir Vishatam Tamishram Puna Punascharvita Charvananam.
Very nice.
Garima Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. For those who have decided to continue their existence in this material world for the gratification of their senses, there is no chance of becoming Krishna consciousness, not by personal endeavor, by instruction from others, or by joint conferences. They are dragged by the unbridled senses into the darkest region of ignorance, and thus they madly engage in what is called chewing the chewed. Hare Krishna.
Punar Punar Charvita Charvananam. So that was a really long reading, right? But very heavy, right?
Yeah.
And very informational. So thoughts, comments, suggestions.
Mataji, I was reflecting on eating the like opulent dishes, like you can offer it to Lord and then having it, right? But I think because of that, you take like so much of your energy in cooking and not paying attention to the Lord. So probably that is why it is said that keep it simple. So that was really very helpful.
Yes, and then there is stress also. When you're cooking all these palatable dishes, they're not easy to cook, right? I mean, if between making puris and making kacharis, it's a world of a difference there, right? And
Yes, ma'am.
so there is stress, and you see all that consciousness is going into the food that you're cooking. If the lady is stressed, so simple living, high thinking should be the motto. And again, you see, when a person is cooking food with the intentions of enjoying it, and itself, the whole process is all messed up, right? Because we cook for Krishna. We cook for Krishna, and what Krishna likes, we give. And then if Krishna likes juicy, fatty food, and then your doctor has said you don't eat fatty food, then you don't eat fatty food. If you really want to cook for Krishna and he likes fatty food, you cook for Krishna, but in a smaller portion, so that when it comes to prasadam, you can always have your bland khichdi and you can have opulent food for Krishna, and then partake of a little prasadam, which is opulent, but you can still live your simple life like that, or have salad,
That,
like that.
yeah. That also reminds me of Bhagavad Gita, one who is balanced in their eating, sleeping, and recreations habit, right? So,
Yuktahara viharasya, yeah. Yuktasapnasya bodhasya, yeah.
But Mataji, it is very difficult to control your senses when you have cooked for Krishna as bhoga. When it comes as a prasad, you tend to, eat even when the doctor has told you not to eat. So these are very difficult to control your senses, Mataji.
Yeah, so that's why I was saying go it in a smaller quantity,
Yeah.
right? If Krishna wants to have puris, don't make 25 puris. 3 for Krishna is good. He can have some rice also. He can have chapatis also. Right? It's not under the guise of Krishna we don't enjoy, and that is what we do end up doing, right? And if you indulge in all that, like I'm going to eat a plate full of halwa, it's not the right thing to do, because all this will come back at you later in life when the doctor is saying you have type 2 diabetes and things like that, right? And by the time the senses would have become so accustomed to eating sweet that now you can't withdraw from sweets. So even if the doctor says you have diabetes, you continue to eat that because you become a godas, a servant of the senses. And these senses are very, very strong, very, very strong. And it is a very natural thing, because the senses have a tendency to enjoy. And if you start, cutting off on some senses, then the other sense become very sharp. You would have noticed that, people who are blind, right, who can't see, they have a very sharp sense of hearing, or, a sense of smell. That compensation keeps on happening. And so we sometimes think that the compensation is happening, that Prakriti, Mother Nature, is being merciful to the blind person, that is able to hear and smell. yes, that is just one part of it. But the other part also is that he has got heightened senses, which will make him enjoy those things even more. So you see a dog. You see a dog, how long the dog's tongue is, right?
Yeah.
So or even in human beings, you will see some have a very long tongue, some don't have a long tongue. So the longer the tongue is, there is more surface area on which the food will go and slide and reside, right? So there'll be more surface area from which you will be tasting it. So there's more enjoyment when the tongue is really long. A dog, you see when the dog has got a tongue, there's so much of exposure to the food that the soul likes. And so that's why you see how the dogs eat, because suddenly there's so much of a rush of taste in their mouth. They start
Yeah.
eating it. They go crazy. Human beings don't eat like dog because they have a smaller tongue. But even among the human beings, you find some human beings eat like dogs, right? So it's all about controlling of the tongue. And something very important that he's saying is, Prabhupada says, is that you notice that they are all in a line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Vegam, Udara, Upast, right? Upast,
Tara
below,
Pastas.
below the stomach, below the stomach. They're all in line, and it's a very common thing. Like, what do you do? Not you. What do people do on a weekend? On a Friday night, what happens? There's dinner, there's movie, and then it's like, now where should we go? To your house or to my house? Like that, right? We all connected. These things are connected because you had that rich food. Now that rich food is acting on you. It's all passionate food. So now the other passionate desires will grow in you. But if you go in a sattvic, have sattvic food, then you won't suffer from other things. So these are all connected. That's why in chapter 17, we are reading about food in the mode of goodness, food in the mode of passion, food in the mode of ignorance, right? What we most of us do is we have food in the mode of passion, and then food in the mode of ignorance, alcohol. So you're adding those things. So what's going to happen to the mind after you're applying all these things to mind? It's only going to bring out the baser thoughts are going to surface, because we have got you. It took If you put a low grade fuel in something, you're going to get a low grade output. So you put low grade fuel in the body, and it's going to go to the mind. The mind will, give you same garbage in, garbage out. The mind will do that. It's to be expected. This is something to be expected here.
Thank you, Mataji.
So we have our Nama Zaya Mataji. She's watching us on Facebook. So is Neelam Mataji, Lalita Prasad Prabhu, and our Sudevi Mataji is also there. Hare Krishna, and Vidyavadu Mataji is also joined. Vijay Lakshmi Nair is also there. And Parsha Mataji is on Facebook now. Fantastic. Remember the names.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Such a nice explanation where we started.
Yeah, from where we started and where we went, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in this
Yes.
today we did not do Brahma Samhita. And you might be happy. It's a difficult, today's verse was a difficult verse. It was about procreation and things like that. Yeah. But that's fine. We did. This was also very important for us, right? And it's a very important verse. It starts from its first verse. I mean, look at that. And look at the thing. They've got the choice of the words which are used in this in this verse. It is saying, vacho vegam. Veg. Veg is like an urge. It's an urge. It's a force. Urge is a force, that impels you and pushes it further. And before it's like I don't even know what the words came out of my mouth. There's a force. There's something else that is forcing the words to come out. And what is that for? What is it that is forcing it? It is the mind that is controlling the tongue, right? The mind is controlling the tongue, and the words are out. And why are those words out? Because somewhere buried, the lust is already there. The desire to speak those words was already there. The soul wanted to give back. And then the words came out. And then it is like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. So here's the interesting thing, that your mind is your friend and your mind is your enemy also. Right? And you can look at it from two perspectives. Your mind is your friend. Your mind is your enemy because it gives you thoughts which are not conducive to Krishna consciousness, right? He's an enemy, and then your mind becomes a friend when it always gives you thoughts which are conducive to Krishna consciousness. That's one way of looking at how the mind behaves. The other way of looking at mind is your friend and is also your enemy, is that when you really had a base desire, then the mind cooperates with you and gives you all the necessary parts that are required to fulfill that lower desire. So he's your friend, isn't he? He's helping you. So in that case, he's a friend of the bad man. And then after you commit all this, the same mind will also come and say, I shouldn't have, you shouldn't have done that. Now, what kind of a friend are you, right? Now you're blaming me. So this is how the mind operates, like a monkey, sometimes here, sometimes there. There was that verse that she read, Varsha Mataji read, right? It ut dhai, it ut here and there, it ut here or there, here or there. That's why the mind takes you, like that, like that, like that. So very, very powerful verse. And it's clearly it is said, Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam. So my urges of the mind, urges of the tongue and the belly and the genitals, all those urges, they just overpower. They're saying that, the one who has learned how to control all of this, only that person is qualified to become a spiritual master. So this verse is actually starting from a spiritual master, right? So you find that there are so many spiritual masters, so-called spiritual masters. They come on television, have a huge following, thousands of people, and then 6 months later they are in jail for molesting a woman or something like that. What happened to the urges? Why were you not able to control the urges? A good spiritual master has all these controls. So that's why when one is seeking out a spiritual master, one has to look for these things and not get swayed by innocently get swayed, thinking everything is nice like that. Any last thoughts? 7:30 past
I
7:30.
was Mataji very little bit not feeling good. So because whole day I was like, I was saying to myself, not to others, but I was speaking to my mind. Oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and then when I saw that lines, the mind should be engaged in devotional service, and I find peace running towards my body. It was so soothing, and I'm like, okay, because I didn't read, or I am my mind was not engaged in devotional service. That's why it's trying to overpower me and saying, oh, you are doing this much, you are that, and just creating stress on me.
Yes.
So I feel so nice.
Yes, very right, very right, very, very good point. The mind has to be engaged. If it's not engaged in Krishna Katha, it will be engaged in Ramya Katha. Something else it will do there. Yeah, yeah. And it's just there's a very nice verse actually. It's from the fifth canto of Bhagavatam. Let me just see, if I can find that for you. That when you are faced with these kinds of things, then you should be Krishna can help us. Srimad Bhagavatam canto, I think 19. Let's see. Let me start sharing the screen with you. Am I sharing it? No?
No, not yet.
So we have to take the shelter of the Lord and then see what happens. Like all these things that are coming to us because of our desires, right? So we have desires, and because of desires, we start asking, I want this, I want this, I want this. And of course, there is Krishna there, Chaturvija Bhajante Mam, Jana Sikini Arjuna, Arto Jigyasi Artharthi, Gyani Cha Bharata Rishabha. This is 4 type of people come to me, right? Those who are in distress, those who need some economic gains, those who are just plain curious, and then those who are my devotees, they come to me, right? So what happens when people come to Krishna? This verse is going to tell you very nicely here. It's from the 19th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, canto 5. And whose turn is it to read?
Chitra Mataji joined. Chitra Mataji, would you like to read? Or are you in a position to read?
No, she said she can't.
Oh, okay. Then it's my turn to read. And I will make an attempt. Sorry, Mataji. I will need help.
No problem. Satyam dishat arthitam arthito nirnam.
Satyam dishaitam arthitam
Arthito
arthito
nirnam.
nirnam
Neva.
neva thando
Yat
Yat punar arthita yatah swayam vidyate bhajantam anichatam tam chapithanam nija pada pallavam.
Satyam dishat artitam artito nirnam nevarthado yat punar artita yataha swayam vidhatte bhajitam anichatam ichha pidhanam nijapad pallavam. And who's going to give us the translation for this?
Sukomal Radha Mataji.
All right, Kumalati Mataji.
Synonyms. Oh, the Supreme Personality of Godhead fulfills the material desires of a devotee who approaches him with such motives, but he does not bestow benedictions upon the devotee that will cause him to demand more benedictions again. However, the Lord willingly gives the devotee shelter at his own lotus feet, even though such a person does not aspire for it, and that shelter satisfies all his desires. That is the Supreme Personality's special mercy.
What do you think about that highlighted text?
That shelter satisfies all his desires.
Very
Period.
potent.
Nothing more to be said, right?
Yeah.
Case closed. Right? So you talked about this urge and that urge and this urge and that urge, right? And look at the Lord's treatment, treatment towards the devotees, right? So what is he saying here? On the top, if you see, he says he will fulfill the material desires of the Supreme Personality for Godhead, fulfills the desires of a devotee who approaches him with such motives, right? If you ask something for the the devotee asks something for God, he will give it to him. However, he will not bestow benedictions upon the devotee that will cause him to demand more benedictions again. So if you're saying, give me 1 lakh or $1 million, right? And I have a reason for asking that. I want to set up a temple or something like that. Then he will give it to you. But if he knows that this man is just asking it for his own sense gratification, and he's asked for, once the 1 million is over, he'll ask for again and again, then he will not give it. Right? So when you ask things of Lord, he may give it to you and not give it to you. So that is from one aspect, that, from the asking aspect, what do you get from the Lord? Sometimes you get and sometimes you won't get. On the other hand, what he's saying is, the Lord willingly gives the devotee shelter at his own lotus feet, even though such a person does not aspire for it. Even though he's not asking for it, the devotional service will come from within his heart, that seed of devotional service will fructify, and a sprout will come out of it, right? Even though such a devotee does not aspire for it, and that shelter satisfies all his desires. So he did not ask for it. It's a lot what the Lord can do. You could be completely a materialistic person, thinking of, I want this and I want that and what that. And then Lord, as his special mercy, what he'll do is he will not fulfill any of your material desires, but he will give you shelter at his lotus feet. And just because you are in the right place and now you've got the right knowledge, higher level information you have got, and you have tasted something higher, being at the lotus feet of the Lord, that the other desires will automatically get fulfilled. You have you're just watched. And that is the Lord's special mercy. That sometimes you see that, devotees do not get the money, devotees are to financial classes and things like that. That is the Lord's special mercy. It's very difficult to digest at this time. What is the Lord's special mercy?
Yes, Mataji, that is very important. That is very important. When we ask for something and we do not get, that is a special mercy actually, because Lord doesn't want us to take that, and because it will harm us in the long run. So that is why He doesn't give us.
Yeah, to keep you entangled.
Yeah.
But yeah. Barsha, were you asking me a question? I saw your
Yes,
hand raised.
yes,
Okay,
Mataji.
go ahead.
I had a question. It was about, however, the Lord willingly gives the devotee shelter at his own lotus feet, even though such a person does not aspire for it. So, isn't a devotee always aspiring for the Lord's lotus feet?
Yes, very good. Right? But the devotee, sometimes the devotional service is covered. That we are, well, to put it in simple words, every soul is actually wired to be a devotee of the Lord. right? So that's at the lowest level, that all the souls are devotees of the Lord, but we are covered to a certain extent by Maya, right? So the modes of material nature cover us, and we were reading, right? And so a devotee could also be covered. The devotees can get covered by fog, right? So we can get covered and we can start desiring something, and we can go to Lord and say, "God, Lord, please, I want this, I want this, I want this." And if the Lord says that, no, let me not give this to that person, because once he asks for this, he will ask for more and he'll get more entangled. There was once a devotee and a disciple of a spiritual master, and he so the spiritual master used to go. He was a sannyasi. The spiritual master used to travel, and so the spiritual master came to this disciple's home, and he said that okay, the disciple met the spiritual master and his guru, and he paid obeisances, took care, fed him nice, palatable food and all that. And then as the guru was leaving, the disciple asked that, mere liye koi seva batlaiye, what are your instructions for me? So they said, here is the Bhagavad Gita. Take this Bhagavad Gita and I want you to read it. So he said, okay. So then he started a nice little regimentation. He said, okay, I will read the Bhagavad Gita. I'll get up, take a shower, and then, be nice and fresh. And then I will sit and read the Bhagavad Gita. So everything starting in a very nice earnest. So he took a shower and he went out of the home to hang his dhoti. So to hang his dhoti, so he was hung the dhoti there, and the dhoti was torn in some places, right?
Yeah.
Was torn in some places. So, but anyway, he didn't care about it. It was torn. And the reason the dhoti was torn was because there were mice in his house, and these mice used to nibble on the dhoti. And they also used to make a lot of noise. When this guy was sitting down to read, when the disciple was sitting down to read the Bhagavad Gita, he used to be disturbed by the sound of mice. They make noises.
Yeah.
They're jumping here. So he used to do that. So that was there, and they were eating his clothes also. So one day when he was hanging his dhoti, it was torn. And so his neighbor said, hey, what happened? Like, your dhoti is all torn. So he said, you know what? I don't know how to handle this. There are mice in my home and they disturb me. And they also are not eating away at my clothes. So the neighbor said, it's very simple. Why you just get a cat, and the cat is going to take care of the rat. So the man, took about a cat and said he was very good. And then the cat, killed the rat. And then one few days he caught the rats in the home, and the whole house was completely clean of the rats. He was very happy. And so he sat down one day and he was reading his Bhagavad Gita, and then the cat came. Meow, meow, meow. It was hungry. Now there are no rats to eat.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know. Now the noise of the cat is bothering him. So he goes to his neighbor and says, you asked me to get a cat. What do I do? He says, this cat is making noises. What do I do? Oh, no. The cat is hungry. The cat needs some milk. All that you need to do is to get some milk. He's like, I'm a brahmachari. Where will I get the milk? So you go and beg for some milk. This guy now goes out, begs door to door, gets some milk, and then gives it to the cat. Now, he has spent so many hours in getting the milk there. He's very, very frustrated. So he tells his neighbor that, this is not working out. And the neighbor says, why do you have to go out? Get a cow. You get a cow, then you'll get the milk right in the house itself. You don't have to go outside to get the milk.
Yeah.
So he goes and, begs somebody gives him the cow. Okay, brahmachari needs to drink milk, lets him give the cow. So he puts the cow over there. And now, you have a cow in the house. The cow has grazed, the cow is going cow dung, the cow is doing this, the cow is also making noises. So now what to do? So somewhere the neighbor says, very simple. Get a wife. Your wife is going to take care of everything. The wife will mend the dhoti, the wife will cook for you, the wife will take care of the billy, the cat, the wife will take care of the cow. You don't have to worry about anything. So then he takes care of brings in a wife, right?
Yeah.
And then of course the wife comes and then they have a child. And by the time the spiritual master returns, and then he says, have you been reading the Bhagavad Gita? I said, huh? Bhagavad Gita? Entanglement. This is called entanglement. So in the very first place, don't give him the cat itself. Don't train for the cat itself. Let him suffer from a torn dhoti. At least he will read the Bhagavad Gita, even though, with breaks here and there. You see how complicated things can become. Right?
Yeah.
Yes, Mataji. Can I say something, Mataji?
Say.
Yeah, Mataji, my daughter had applied for a green card for me, and you see, it did not. Um, Corona started, and she had to give one paper domicile, her domicile. So it was not given. Now she had given at that time. Now she found out my papers are lost in the office in US. So my daughter was really very disturbed, and she said that what is this? You say your papers are, mommy, your papers are gone, and now I don't know how long will it take. I told her, I said, this is the Lord's wish. Whatever He wants to do, let Him do at His own pace, and we are happy. You don't worry. We are very well looked after here also. You don't worry. But yes, let it take its own time. So my husband was not very keen to go, and the way Lord has, you see, done the trick. He is very tactful, Mataji. He can do anything what he likes to do, and it is beneficial for us. This is what
Yeah.
I felt.
Krishna solutions are amazing.
Amazing,
Krishna
Mataji. Amazing. He was not at all. He's not at all keen to go, Mataji. But his green card is done, and mine is papers are lost.
There you go. Yeah, so life can
And
become
he
very
can't leave me. Yeah, he can't leave me and go in this Corona situation.
Yeah. Such is the material world. Yeah. There you go. Okay, so here's the thing. So Komal Radhe Mataji, that yesterday when I was asking about the book distribution leaders meeting, right? And you said it's in the morning at 6:25. You were talking about a different thing. It's a BBT organized thing, and I was talking about a meeting which is at ISV level, for ISV only, right? So that meeting is later in the day. So I will still have the class tomorrow at 6:30.
Okay.
We'll just read
Sorry, I
the
think
so we'll
you
read.
attend all the book distribution meetings, so I thought that came up. So, and
Yeah,
it was
yeah. No, that's
exactly
fine.
the same
Yeah.
time as your class. So then I
My class, exactly. No, that's fine. And I'm just clarifying it for the others that we will have the class tomorrow. And as usual, what we do on Sundays is we read the Sanskrit of the chapter that we're doing from Bhagavad Gita. So we'll just then do that. I go there.
Okay.
So. Yeah, my meeting is at 12:30,
Oh.
12:25 to be precise. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mataji.
Good.
No, not sorry at all. You know, I'm actually. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I just got a little bit more time to prepare for the meeting. Yeah, because I need to use PowerPoint slide and things like that, which I hadn't done since morning. I'm non-stop talking in meetings since morning, and I have one more to go tonight. So yeah, I didn't get a chance to sit down and really work on the
Work,
but that's
work or temple work?
No. Krishna conscious activities
Okay,
only.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, my problem at work also got resolved. There were some deadlines we met. To put very simply, there was some software which had to be put on a particular machine, and the software was not ready, so the customer was not very happy. And what Krishna did was there was some problem in this machine, so this machine went down. So we got more time to do the software. Yeah, he solved it in a very elegant way. Yeah. Yeah, we wouldn't have thought of that solution, right? To kill the machine. Krishna did it, yeah. He does things like that, yeah.
Krishna is fantastic.
Yeah, his solutions are amazing always, yeah. Okay. So having said that, I'll take your permission. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyeva patitana parnebhyo vaishnavyo namo namaha gopremanande hari hari bol. Vaishana Mataji, can you do me a favor? Can you post this information? Yeah, can you post this information on our Bhakti Vriksh WhatsApp group that we will have the class tomorrow? Because otherwise,
Yes,
might not. She has left and she might not come tomorrow. And
I will post it. I will post it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's
Hare
all.
Krishna. Thank you,
Hare
Shraddha.
Krishna Mataji. Thank you Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Sorry, the
Thank you,
class
Mataji. Hare
went so
Krishna.
long. Class went so long for 2 hours.